I confess, CNN's lately departed Chris Cuomo was never an anchor of whom I was particularly fond. Among the fashionable, mainstream, left-leaning journalists of our age, from whom we've certainly no shortage to choose, I always had a preference for another Chris, the fallen star of MSNBC, Chris Matthews.
Barack Obama.
I have to tell you, it's part of reporting this case, this election. The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech, I felt this thrill going up my leg. I mean, I don't have that too often.
Ah, yes, Chris Matthews, the occasionally fawning, though usually strident and tough commentator to whom, not quite a year ago, we bade a precipitate, though perhaps not unnecessary farewell. Yet still, heedless of or unmoved by my personal opinion, more than enough people seem to have liked the other Chris Cuomo, to have justified his continued presence on our television screens. In time, then, he became something of a nightly fixture on CNN, that professedly guileless, upright, impeccably truthful network, the most trusted name in news, to whom the lion's share of its ratings and its viewers flowed. As the world now knows, Cuomo, scion of a name that once rang with nobility and honor, was summarily fired from the network last week. His unexpected dismissal followed a brief period of suspension, during which CNN's lawyers and executives planned further to investigate his alleged misbehavior. It was thought that Cuomo would survive this temporary recess, this enforced sabbatical into which he was so hastily, if not ignominiously, ushered, and that he, like his fellow CNN contributor and shameless practitioner of self-love, Jeffrey Toobin, would possibly reemerge to breathe new life once the gales of public outcry and private accusation had passed. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, conducted an investigation into the numerous allegations of sexual misconduct with which Chris Cuomo's older brother, the former Governor Andrew Cuomo, was charged. It was as though he were an unacknowledged adjunct to his brother's well-heeled legal defense team, to which he extended the breadth of his journalistic insight. He then mobilized his own sources to exert pressure on the women by whom his brother, the governor, was being accused. And so, with all that, Chris Cuomo has been canned. And as I sit back and reflect on his career, I cannot but wonder, did anyone really ever like him? Surely there was some good in him that outweighed the bad, and surely he appealed to some segment of the population. How about his journalistic integrity? I think, as demonstrated by his inability or his unwillingness to disentangle himself from his brother's sordid affairs, there's little journalistic integrity of which to speak. We know how ineptly he dealt with Governor Cuomo during the sexual harassment episode, but we shouldn't forget his treatment of the governor during the height of the COVID pandemic, as the fair state of New York suffered from the ravages of this foreign disease. Governor Cuomo accompanied his adoring brother night after night on CNN. At the time, mind you, the governor's fatal edict requiring all nursing homes to accept COVID-positive patients was still in place, which, as we know, turned out to be an unpardonable mandate by which many elderly people in that state were killed. But the boys sought to season the sadness with a little garnish of comedy, a little bit of levity, which came to us by way of this unforgettable performance.
What kind of rate going up would be enough for you to reassess whether or not
you have to take remedial action, slow down, back off? Do you have any markers? How do you measure that?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thank
the
you.
first thing we have, I was just being kind. It was rhetorical.
It was rhetorical, I know, but I take it when I get it. Go ahead. Go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We have experts literally international experts. We have domestic experts, and they will watch the calibration. You start to see numbers go up. First of all, you want to make sure it's not a normal deviation, because this whole system was just put in place. You have a day-to-day deviation.
Right. Enough to make the Smothers brothers blush. So, journalistic integrity wasn't chief among his traits. What about his charisma? That almost unteachable, inborn quality of affability and personal charm. Remember the infamous Fredo incident?
The man apparently called Cuomo by the name Fredo, referring to the fictional character from the Godfather films, which led to this confrontation.
I thought that's who you were.
No, punk from the right called me Fredo. My name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN.
You're much.
Fredo is from the Godfather. He was that weak brother.
Isn't that your
And
brother?
they use it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian? Are you Italian?
I got a little
It's an insult to your people. It's an insult to your people. It's like the N-word for us.
When an exasperated Cuomo lashed out at another man at a beer garden for referring to him, in a tone of jocularity, as the dim-witted brother from the famous film The Godfather. Then, in a fit of old-world passion, he tried to make the unconvincing argument that the term Fredo is, for men of Italian heritage, as offensive as is the N-word for black people. And who could forget his genial interaction with the inquisitive bicyclist who happened upon Cuomo breaking the rules of his quarantine in order to oversee the construction of his house? I can remember no other New Yorker enjoying such an exemption. And Cuomo excoriated the man on the bike for pointing this out. So if he lacks journalistic integrity and personal charm, what of his legal acumen? Trained as a lawyer, he had the following to say about the riots of the summer of 2020.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Now, I've never walked the halls of a prestigious law school like that of Fordham University, from which Cuomo took his degree. But I would think it would require of its students a basic literacy in the Constitution's text, of which Cuomo appears to have been utterly ignorant. What then remains? Journalistic integrity, personal charm, legal acumen, all traits and qualities in which he's glaringly deficient. I suppose he's an attractive fellow with a square jaw, strong frame, and soft eyes. But is not comeliness and attraction the very last refuge of a mediocre talent? So, to anyone out there, to the Cuomo coterie, tell me, what is it about this man I was missing all along? Did anyone really like him? Will anyone really miss him? I yearn to know your thoughts. I can hardly sleep until I do. So, for that reason, subscribe to this channel, comment below, enlighten me, make a video rejoinder. And until then, farewell, Chris Cuomo, and farewell to you all.